Should we start then? Should we start with game of the year content, chat, so we can quickly get through it? Top 10 games of the year. Let's do it so we can quickly get. There's gonna be a few shockers on this for everybody. Okay, so I need to explain. All right, hold on. I'm gonna set up videos for each one as well, because you know, professional broadcaster, professional. Okay, my first game of the year. My first game of the year. My first this. All right, we're gonna do it from backwards. We're gonna do it from 10 to 1. Okay, feel free to let me know in chat how smart I am, how good my game of the year list is. Okay, first of all, I have to say, okay, this is my game of the year list. Okay, this is my favorite. Okay, I know everybody's like, they back out of their game of the year list and go, this is just my opinion. Okay, no, this is not just my opinion. This is the actual factual, correct. Okay, this is the main game of the year list. But also, I have to start off with saying, this is just games I enjoyed. What can I say? I don't want to go in too deep and judge them technically, and they did this and they did that. This is the games I enjoyed last year. I have to also start off with, we are a smaller channel, chat. I'm on a tight budget. I cannot play every single game. There's a few big ones that we missed that could have been on the game of the year list or might not be. I might have hated them, but like from how everybody else is talking about them, maybe I would have considered them, like Death Stranding, Control, and Star Wars, the new Star Wars game. They could have, like, those are like my type of games, so maybe they could have gotten on the list. But I ain't played. I ain't played them, chat. What you want to say? Okay, I ain't played it. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So all right, let's go. Number 10. We're gonna come out with a shocker because everybody's gonna be like, huh? What would you? Okay, number 10, chat. Metro Exodus. That's right, chat. Metro Exodus. I know a lot of people didn't like this game, or should I say they weren't as hyped for it as like the other Metro games. People said it was easier. Like some people didn't enjoy the open-ended nature of it. Chat. Okay, so what we're gonna see a pattern here of today's game of the year list. The pattern is games that I haven't played before, or games that are like new, fresh experiences to me. Like obviously a first-person shooter is not going to be a new, fresh experience to me, but I haven't played any of the other Metro games. So this is my first time going into the Metro series. So for that reason, I really enjoyed it. Like, I thought the game looked nice. I thought it ran nice. I played it on the PS4 Pro. I know it is like not as difficult as the other games in the series, and it was like I said, more open-ended. So these were the we got trophy, chat. So it was more open-ended, you know, compared to those other games. But I think because it was like a fresh new experience for me, I think that's what carried it for me. And we played this early on in the year as well. Another thing we're gonna notice in this list is games that are fresher in my mind are probably higher up. Like, I don't know if they should be or they shouldn't be, but this is the first time I've done like a serious game of the year list, even though there's like 2 or 3 big titles we didn't cover. But this is the first time I've actually given it some major thought. Like, as soon as we finished the Switch content, I've been thinking about this for 3 days. Up until like 2 hours ago, I was changing around my top 10. So there you have it. Metro Exodus, my number 10. Okay, number 9, another one. Another is going to be, you're going to see a pattern here, chat. My number 9 is Total War 3 Kingdoms. Total War 3 Kingdoms. And the pattern continues. My first ever Total War game that I'm playing. I've watched loads of them be played before. I've never actually had a chance to like sit down and like enjoy them for myself. I was so lost going into this. It was like overwhelming. Chat was great. Chat was helping me all the way through this. But once I got in and once I started to learn how to play the game, I I couldn't stop playing. We did like 4 or 5 days straight streaming this because I was just enjoying myself so much. I don't, again, don't use me as a where does this stand in all the compared to the other Total War games. I know it sold like crazy. Like they said some stats like this is the highest selling Total War game of all time. It was doing great in like China and all Asian countries, obviously because it's based on Three Kingdoms and it would do well there. But I really enjoyed this game. Like again, like the Metro game, it was like a fresh new experience to me. So yeah, I really liked it. One thing I have that is interesting doing this top 10, because all these games on my top 10 are great games, but as we're going backwards, like you have to nitpick, say, oh, this is bad about this game, this is bad about this game, this is why I'm not making it my number one. So when you're gonna hear like a lot of negative stuff about these games, it doesn't mean that they're bad games or that this stuff is like crazy broke or anything. It's just so we can say in our head why this isn't my number one. And like my only criticism about this game was, as somebody who's new to Total War, if it wasn't for chat, sometimes I luck out when I'm streaming and playing games because I have a whole community here to help me, right? The in-game tutorial is not that good. And in the game they refer you to their site and they got little mini videos and everything. Even I was struggling with that. So this is a franchise that has been going on for a long time. One thing I wish that they would do in the upcoming games is like make it, I'm not saying make the game easy, but if people want to get, because more people are playing PC games than ever now, especially with the consoles being borderline PCs and the crossover is so close together, right? Especially with Xbox and everything. They need to start thinking about making it easier for new players to enjoy. Because if they're saying this is the highest selling game, highest selling Total War game of all time, probably a lot of those are probably older Total War players, but some of them are new players are probably struggling like me as well, right? So that was my only little minor hindrance with this game was, make the tutorial a little bit better. But number 9, Total War Three Kingdoms. Really enjoyed this game, really did. Okay, now we're getting to the nitty gritty, chat. Like, I didn't realize how hard my top 10 was going to be. Like, there were so many good games that came out this year, but we played so many games as well. So, like, narrowing it down to those 10 was hard, but then narrowing it down, like, I felt like 10 and 9 was kind of, it wasn't that hard for me to do because I knew I was going to put those 2 games in there because I really enjoyed them. But this is where it was crunch time. Like, this next game is not on a lot of people's lists, by the way. I'm saying it got snuffed by a lot of people, but this also could have switched with another game on our list. When we get later on, we'll discuss it. But my number 8 is Devil May Cry 5. I loved it, chat. We haven't had a proper big Devil May Cry in such a long time. Devil May Cry 4 was the last one we had, early PS3, and then they ported it, and recently all Capcom's been doing is like porting Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3 to different places. So yeah, we had a flashy brown new we did have Devil May Cry that wasn't done by Capcom. I actually forgot all about that. So yeah, this was like the first, air quotes, a proper DMC made by Capcom. I loved it. I loved every second of it. The first day we played it, we did like a 11 or 12 hour stream. Like, I was ready to go in and like do a complete it in one day sitting, but you know, I'm old and I didn't want to break my back. But fantastic game. This could have been higher up on my list. I reckon I'm going to be honest. I think I might have, like, I started to think about my top 10 a little bit too deep, like get too technical with it and what's going to stand up over the year. And originally this was way higher up on my list, but when I started to add these other games into my list, you're going to see it was like games that were more rounded out and could have been a more fuller experience. But fun factor, I think looking at my list now, if I was going on fun factor, this might have been in my top 3. if I was just going on fun factor alone. Like, you can change your difficulty, you can play it how you want, but if you like these action type of games, like the other one that came out that was kind of like this, but it's way more difficult, right? Sekiro. But the difficulty factor is way different. But if you want to just go button mashy with this, you can totally can. But yeah, if I was going on fun factor alone, this would have been way higher on my list. They got pushed down because we had a couple of action oriented games this year. If I was gonna pick a negative about what I didn't like about this game and why it got dropped down lower, it was mainly because of the fact of it gets a bit repetitive, not gameplay wise. I mean, so the crux of this game is, oh, you play as Nero, you play as Dante, you play as V. The V gameplay, his name was V, right? I don't know, like, we played this at the beginning of the year, chat. Like, fair play to this game that is getting mentioned in my top 10. But it came out at the beginning of the year. Like, games come out at the end of the year, but it's like movies when they want to be nominated for Oscars. They want to be fresh in everybody's mind. So everybody's like, oh, remember that game? But it, like, Capcom had the balls to like bring some of their big hitters at the beginning of the year and they said this is gonna stand up by itself by its gameplay. So it's kind of hard to remember everything about it. Yeah, one thing I didn't really not like, but you know, I'm criticize, like, just nitpicking. Sometimes you do the same stage but with the different protagonist in a different like view from hit. Like, you play it through V's perspective, you play it through Nero's perspective. So it gets a little bit backtracky, not as bad as like Devil May Cry 4. But yeah, there he is. The flip-flops are just triggering me. Okay, I'm taking this out of my list. Forget it. Going back, no, it's not making top 10. V was just so, I appreciate there was 3 different gameplay, but V was the weakest. I felt he was very button bashy. But yeah, so it was a little bit backtracky with the V stuff, and then I'm not gonna do spoilers, but how the story goes toward the end, and there's all like there's like a level that everybody plays, so you're seeing a lot of that level. So it's like they rinse and repeat certain levels. So that was kind of but other than that, great game. Super enjoyed it. If you want to go just on fun factor alone, it might be in my top 2 games of 2019. So they have a Devil May Cry 5, number 8. Number 7, chat. This game. Okay, so for who you don't know, we got a Switch in the studio recently, and we've been doing like a month of crazy Switch content. There's gonna be 1 or 2 Nintendo games in the list. The next one's gonna be a Nintendo game. Let's get on with it. Tetris 99. What's very interesting to me, if I didn't get a Switch in, I would have, like, this is exclusive to the Switch. You can't play this nowhere else. It's so good, chat. It's so good. It's gonna be, so I was talking earlier on, it came out like midway through the year, but because it's a game that is fresh on my mind, that's why it was easy to put in the list for me anyway. It could have gone even higher. When I'm here making videos and like editing stuff, you know what I'm doing in my spare time over the last 2 weeks? I've got my Switch on my desk and I'm just like, let me just quickly play a game of Tetris 99. Just one quick game. End up playing like 3 or 4 and then like just turn it off. Like, if you don't know what Tetris 99 is, like, it's like Tetris, in my opinion, one of the greatest puzzle games of all time. Could be one of the greatest games of all time. Might even be in my top 10 greatest games of all time. They added like the battle royale stuff to that. You verse 99 other people. You'd think, oh, I don't know how it's gonna work. It works so well. It's just so pick up and play. Even if you don't like Tetris, like, you're like, oh, Tetris is so boring. A lot of people haven't played Tetris Gaiden. That was like exclusive to Japan. It didn't really come out here. But if you like Puzzle Fighter or Tetris Gaiden, don't think of this as like Tetris. This is your versing 99 other people playing a puzzle game and they're trying to take you out and you're trying to take them out. So good. It is so good, chat. Like, if you could buy a Switch and you can get Nintendo's online service. If you get Nintendo's online service, is free to play, basically. Well, you know, air quotes, free to play, because you got to get their online service. So you don't even have to buy this game. As long as you got an online subscription, you get this game as part of your online subscription. They got DLC out for everything, single player DLC out for it. But pick up and play, addictive. Like, this game is so good. So good. It just kind of goes to show you that battle royale formula really works with, like, if they do it well, it could work with anything. Like we've just seen recently, like Forza did the battle royale stuff, right? Yeah, that remember when we thought like last year, oh, battle royale, what is it gonna come to? Fortnite this, Fortnite that, Fortnite this. Tetris battle royale. That's what this is. Such a good game. It could have been higher up in my list. If I had if we didn't have such heavy hitters, it could have been higher up in my list as well. But it is a bit basic and simple. And on that's why I don't think I put it higher, because there's not like much to it. But it's, once you pick it up and play, you just can't stop. But yeah, I loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Could only get it on the Switch. So, you know, I don't know how they managed that, because it's the Tetris license and they twisted it and like somehow it's exclusive. If you got a Switch, Tetris 99. Okay, my next game, number 6. This is a difficult one for me. All right, let's start off with going. My number 6 is Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. A lot of people have voted this as their game of the year, chat. Initially on my top 10 list, this was underneath Devil May Cry. Like in my list, up until 2 hours ago, I was still thinking, and I was still like, should I switch this round with Devil May Cry? Devil May Cry could have been number 6, and Sekiro could have been number 8. Like as a total package and deeper game and everything, yeah, this is a better game. But fun factor wise, like pick up and play, Devil May Cry has it. That's why I was like, this and Devil May Cry was my hardest picks to get on the list. Because you know, the more you put into this, the more rewarding it will be. Because obviously this is like the Souls formula games, so this ain't really pick up and play friendly, so it can get frustrating really quick. I've noticed like the older I'm getting, like we've got a lot of Souls like games coming out now. You know, I Dark Souls 1 might be one of my greatest games of all time. But the older I get, I'm getting more frustrated with these type of games. Or maybe I just don't have the patience for them. Or maybe it's a Zoomer world, chat, where nobody's got the time to, you know, spend on learning, becoming like so precise and so good at everything, to basically get through the game. It looked great. It played great. It can get frustrating, but that's the whole point of From Software games. Why wasn't it higher up on my list? If we're gonna nitpick, like a lot of people have rated this game of the year. I think this was like Steam Player's Choice Game of the Year or something. For me, I still don't think is as good as the Souls games. Like if I'm really getting nitpicky now, again, this is a great game by itself, but if I'm really getting nitpicky of why isn't this my number 1, I think the Souls games give you more freedom and more option and give you way more play styles. So you can play as a shield type, like spear type, you know, range type. Here, like you're gonna get certain moves, but at the end of the day, you're still like you know, you have a sword. It's sword-based gameplay. That's like his main type. And it's definitely evolution of Bloodborne. I don't think this is an evolution of Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3. This is an evolution of Bloodborne. The more attacking, more in your face, more parry. I've always been bad at parrying. That's the thing. Even when I used to play Souls games, I play shield type and run away and like backstab, you know. This is way more parry focused and stricter timing. So it's weird because I think with their games that they're trying to make them more accessible. But by making them more accessible, for some people, they're making them easier to play. But people who are like bad at parrying, it actually becomes harder. I've always been bad at parrying, so you know I could just learn parrying, get better at the game. But I like to be sneaky and like have different ways of playing and hold my shield up. So that's my only like nitpick with this game. It doesn't give you as much freedom as the Souls games, so it's way more Bloodborne-y than Dark Souls-y. But you know, some people say Bloodborne is probably the best From Software has ever done. So if you're to those people, they're probably gonna love it. So again, great game. Another one, the first day, for the first 3 days, we probably put in 20 hours in the first 3 days. We played a crazy amount of this. Died to this mini boss a bazillion times. I'm just looking at him getting angry, chat, and just reading. It's like, ugh! It get so frustrating. But at the same time, it can get so rewarding. Like with all Souls games, you master it, it can become so rewarding. So if this game comes on this list with a big caveat, you've got to like Souls-like games. If you don't enjoy the difficulty or the patience or playing in the game the way the game wants you to play, I would say avoid this. Like that's why I would say I would pick Devil May Cry over this. But if you like those Souls type of games, like extremely difficult, play at its pace, do what it wants you to do, then get this over Devil May Cry, because it's a way bigger, meatier experience. But again, these two games was my hardest on my list to place them. Because of the difficulty and like my time and patience, I couldn't put it higher on my list. But I was like, should I put Devil May Cry above this? Is this better than Devil May Cry? Even now, I could just totally swap them, you know. So it was a real difficult one, but it really does depend on like the type of gamer you are. If you like those difficult experiences, like, you know, you gotta have patience to play this. If you want to more pick up and play, way more user friendly, easier to do combos and everything, then Devil May Cry. There you have it. That was our. All right, where are we? Number 5. Number 5, chat. All right, chat. You gotta remember, I play a lot of fighting games on this stream. Chat. Like, this is another one. If we wouldn't have got the Switch in when this first came out, this is all I was playing. Number 5, Mortal Kombat 11. Oh, I got chat, pro streamer. I got footage of the beta up. You can cut down. You're not gonna see that, chat. You're not gonna see that. Mortal Kombat 11. I know the community, like the hardcore MK fans, say this isn't one of the best Mortal Kombat games. For me though, it was that thing of the last Mortal Kombat game that I played hardcore properly was Mortal Kombat 3. I never got super hard into the 3D Mortal Kombat games. I just started playing Street Fighter and Tekken. I was hardcore playing Street Fighter and Tekken. I could never get into block button games. I was just like, this shit at the beginning of this show, I was like, you know what? I need to play fighting game. We play so much fighting games here. I need to play fighting games that we don't usually normally play. So at the beginning of the year, we was lacking in fighting games, right? I think like Dead or Alive 6 came out and Samurai Shodown came out after this. But yeah, it was just DLC for our favorite fighters. So this came out at the perfect time. The trailers they did for this, it got everybody super hyped. And again, like you saw with Metro and like you saw with Total War with my picks, because I hadn't, obviously I'm not totally new going into the Mortal Kombat series, but because I hadn't played this as MK3, I super enjoyed my experience with this. I super enjoyed my experience with it. If it wasn't for the, later on you're gonna see out of our top 4, this could have been, this was at the beginning of the year. As soon as I played this, I was like, okay, this is my top 3. This is gonna be in my top 3. Now we gotta get nitpicky again with MK to say why isn't this in my top 3? Still great fighting game. I really enjoyed it. If you was gonna pick a fighting game up this year, this will be on my list. One of the fighting games that will be on my list, or potential, because I still think Tekken and its DLC are doing great stuff. The more I played this, so we're getting nitpicky now. Obviously, the hardcore MK community saying this doesn't give you as much freedom as MK10, and it's like a lower scope. So if you're new into the MK series though, it'll probably be easier for you to get into, because it's not got so much potential as those games. So it's a way more simpler. But again, because I hadn't played MK in a long time, it was probably the perfect time for me to jump back into MK, right? That's why it worked out for me. So why did it drop down my list? Initially, this was on my top 3, but more games came out in the year and it dropped. But one of the main reasons was we cannot play MK and not talk about the meme of moron combat. If you don't know what moron combat is, it's like certain broadcasters affectionately refer to Mortal Kombat as Moron Combat because the community around it, chat. We was playing Smash a couple of days ago. I remember somebody was teabagging us in Smash, and it was like, oh yeah, they just and then chat was saying, oh, they're just teabagging you just to trying to get you, to react badly and debate you or whatever, and get you to play in a different way. And I was like, nah, I'm a grown-ass man. That stuff doesn't really work on me. It just gets more annoying. This is the prime example with Mortal Kombat for me. I think the single player is awesome. All the content they did for it, like everything this studio does to add more features into fighting games, other studios need to follow. They do some great stuff for their single player, for the added features, the AI fights, the way the trailers look, the way the game looks, the way they hype up their games. They do everything perfectly. When it comes to online play though, initially I super enjoyed it. I was having fun with it, but the more I played it, and obviously I'm not the greatest Mortal Kombat player because Tekken and Street Fighter are my games. All the whole teabagging stuff and like the people who play Mortal Kombat online are like super trolly. You saw like other broadcasts going on, they was getting like in DMs hate mail, like in PlayStation messages hate mail, getting DDoSed, and it's just. And you see certain people play more, certain like esports players play Mortal Kombat, they teabag, and then all the community starts doing it. And it's just haha, laughy, jokey. But after a while, it just gets super frustrating. So the community of Mortal Kombat needs to understand this is how they hurt their game, especially when you have a fighting game of somebody who plays a lot of fighting games and makes a lot of fighting game content. You want new people to come into your game. To enjoy your game, to make your community bigger. But when you do stuff like, trolly stuff like that online, what happens is the casuals will play it. They play for a little while. They play the single player content, and then they're just out. They're like, I don't really want to stick with it. So that's what actually dropped it down on my list, like the online experience. That's not me saying about the lag stuff and all that. And I'm not saying every game was like that at all. But like in 1 in 5 games, if somebody's gonna go down and start teabagging you constantly, and you gotta play that whole mind game of that. I'm like, just whatever, bro. I'm a grown-ass man. I ain't got time for that. So that's kind of what dropped it down for me. And a fighting game is, you can't have a fighting game in 2019 without the online component. So if you can bear the brunt of that, maybe if you're younger or you don't mind that stuff, it'll probably be higher up and you'll enjoy it more. But those two things of the community saying it's not as open-ended as MK10 and like, the morons of Mortal Kombat kind of like took a lot of the shine off the game for me, if I'm gonna be honest with you. We placed in the top 10 for Twitch rivals for this game, so we had a great year with this game for me personally. But that's why it didn't go up higher. That, and there was another game that we're gonna talk about later. I'm kind of spoiling it, but like early on, this was in my top 3. But like I said, I'm not saying this is a bad game or anything wrong with it. If you're a fighting game fan, you're probably gonna enjoy this. But we gotta get super nitpicky, right? Because top 10 games of the year, you gotta find something wrong with it. But that was my only. I'm making it out a way more bigger thing than it is those problems. But it just took a little bit of the shine off it for me. Again, I still come back to this game and we still play it all the time. Whenever the DLC comes out, we still play it. But like, if I'm just rating it on the top 10 list, that's why it kind of drops it down for me. So number 5, Mortal Kombat 11. Really enjoyed it though. Like, finished on the positive, loved it. Like, it was the perfect time for me to come back into Mortal Kombat. Everything they've done with it. Whew, what a great fighting game, in my opinion, in my personal opinion, because the other stuff for that, if you talk to the hardcore MK fans, they say it's not as good as 10. Number 4, chat. This was really hard. This was really hard. Number 4 is A Plague's Tale. Innocence. Is that what the full name of Plague's? I'm just gonna say Plague's Tale. This had potential to be game of the year. This game came out of nowhere. It was on nobody's radar. It got some E3 trailer we saw on everybody's like, that looks kind of interesting. Like, this wasn't a AAA game. It was published by Focus Home Interactive. What was the developer's name? It was the guys and girls who did the Crew games, and they're actually developing Microsoft Flight Simulator next year. I'm so blanking on their name. Wow, It came out of nowhere. What a great game. What a great game. Potential to be game of the year. It's just so I'm gonna say this. I don't really like horror games. Horror games are not really my thing. Obviously, this wasn't really horror, but it was still kind of gruesome and kind of dark and eerie. Those are just not I like more flashy, colorful, cherry games. So we got 1 or 2 games on my list that are way more like darker, horror-y. So that's kind of even shocking for me. It just shows you that how good the actual game was, that I could even look past that stuff. But yeah, Plague Tart Innocence. This was so good. Again, because it was probably lower budget. It was on nobody's radar. Came out of nowhere. It has vibes of Ico about it, where you're leading your brother around. You gotta get through him, help him get through stages. So it's got a great puzzle aspect to it. It's got a great story to it. It's got a great build up to it. The opening is great with how emotionally pulls on the heartstrings, and it looks fantastic as well for a game that was not a big AAA, big budget game. It didn't have like crazy marketing push behind it. More people need to play this game. Like if any out of any of the games on my list, if you got any kind of interest in puzzle, kind of thrillery, these type of games, is just pick this game up. It will probably be on sale as well, because again, not a big budget AAA marketing push. But I had to look up what else this studio has done and what they're making next, because was so impressed by this game. So impressed. Like, we'll get on later why this wasn't my game of the year, once, because I don't want to spoil my top 10. That it will start to make more sense. This was so close to being my game of the year. So good. I'm lost for words right now. Okay, the game is brilliant. The game's brilliant. It was in my top 2 originally. If I wouldn't have picked up a Switch, because the Switch is fresh on my mind again, I'm gonna say this. Switch is fresh on my mind. I'm playing a lot of Switch games. This would have been in my top 2 games of the year. All I can say about it, chat. It's so good. If you get a chance to play this game, play this game. Brilliant. Okay, so now we get to top 3. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't think my game of the year was that hard to pick. Like, I knew my game of the year a long time ago. Because we recently got a Switch in on the stream and keep talking about Switch. The reason I'm gonna keep talking about Switch, the Nintendo Switch, is we only got in a couple of months ago, and already my next game is going to be a Switch game, chat. Spoilers. There's already 2 games on the Switch that are in my top 10 game of the year list. That should show you what kind of year the Switch had, right? Like, I'm looking at next year's Switch games, and I'm saying, wow, there ain't really that much coming out on the Switch other than ports. Like, they had their best year ever. They had their best year ever in sales-wise. And there's a reason. There was so many, like, there could have been 4 more Switch games that I could have put on my list, and I never, because I had to narrow it down to top 10. So my number 3 top 3 of the year, chat. Oh my days, I would never have thought in a bazillion years. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I'm not even a Smash player, chat. I was one of those, I know, toxic. Smash is a party game. It's not a real fighting game. We only started playing Smash on this channel about 2 months ago. I picked up Brawl, I picked up Melee, and I tried to learn it with the community. When I almost didn't buy this game. I said, I'm not that much of a big Smash fan. I said, I'm not that much of a big Smash fan, channel, party game, you know, blah, blah, blah. It might be my favorite game on the Switch. Like, I bought my Nintendo Switch for Mario Maker. That's what I bought the Switch for. And I didn't even, and I was just like, okay, you know what? This will be, to be honest with you, I was like, this will probably be a good game to stream. I'm gonna be honest with you, chat. I was like, this will probably be a good game to stream or buy or whatever, you know. Holy goddamn moly. Oh my days. Oh my, here's the thing. So for my next couple of games, for my next 2 games, here's the thing you have to understand. This is why Mortal Kombat is not my top 3 fighting games of the year, because Smash, right? But here's also the thing. I know this game came out at the end of last year. Everybody's putting it on their game of the year for this year. Also, chat, I'm noticing that you lot are saying stuff in chat. If I talk to chat, then I'm gonna get distracted. Let me go through the list and then we'll talk to chat. See, already I've lost my train of thought. What I said with Mortal Kombat, the more I played it, its shine kind of wore off on me, right? That's also why it's not in my top 3, because again, I make a lot of fighting game content, so there's bound to be a fighting game in my top 3, right? So this literally pushed Mortal Kombat out for me. Even though I'm not I'm not a Smash player, you know, again, but it goes to show you, right? When we was talking about Total War 3 Kingdom, we was talking about the Metro games, you know, we was talking about MK. Like, it was fresh new experiences for me. Again, this is why Smash is that high though, because I'm not a Smash player and like didn't really play the other Smash games. Like, this is all fresh and new to me, so that's why I'm really loving it. So this is also why this is the problem. I know this came out last year. It's on everybody's game of the year list this year because it came out so late into the year. Like, especially with a fighting game, when it comes out, right, you don't have time, literally 2 weeks, to judge a fighting game or how good it is. How's the net play and everything. So everybody gave it a year to mature, and then everybody's putting on their game of the year this year. Then you're saying like, wait, well, you've been playing it for 2 weeks. How have you put in your game of the year? I've been playing it off stream. I've been playing it on my separate account. You know, there's the account that I use for stream, so that's gonna be different. So, but that also goes to show you though, it's got its shine, like it's got that new shininess factor, right? For me, it could come. I could play this for about 2 more months and I'm like, no, I'm done. Like, we was talking about the MK community and Toxic, we all heard about some of the Smash community and everything around there. It could turn out that like I play this for a couple more months and I'm like, maybe I'll drop it. But because, like, you know, games that are fresh in your mind are higher up, right? If anything, this could go both ways. I could play this for 2 more months. It could be my best game of the year. I could play this for 2 months. It could drop down to. It's so hard and it's so weird for me. I'm still in shock, chat, that I'm 1, playing a Smash game, 2 is on my best games of the year. Now, if you look, let's get into the hardcore technical. Like, what holds this back? Why isn't my game of the year? 1, I don't think I would probably have to put in like 100 hours to give you, especially if we're talking about fighting games. If I want to talk hardcore about fighting games, I would have to put way more time in to come to that conclusion. The second thing is, this is a fighting game on a Nintendo console. Now, if you're like, yeah, what does that mean? Like, Nintendo consoles are not really the best for, like, we know the Switch's Wi-Fi and the Switch's Ethernet and the Switch's online infrastructure is not the best. But the thing is, like I was saying earlier on with MK, you cannot play a fighting game in 2019 and not have the online component of it. So even if you was playing this locally with your friends, if it wasn't for the online stuff, it would hinder it for me. I know that a lot of the community saying, oh, the Switch online is bad and everything, and I agree with them with all that. But don't let that scare you away with how the Smash play online. We played Smash for a couple of hours on stream like last week. 1 or 2 laggy experiences. Even though I was playing on 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, I ordered my Ethernet adapter to test Ethernet stuff. Still find it absolutely perfect and playable, you know? Because, like, it's still a Smash game, so it's not like Twitch, like individual 1-frame punches and everything. There are there are 3-frame moves and 1-frame, I don't know if there's 1-frame moves, there's 3-frame moves, 5-frame moves. So it is that precise input wise, but it is still kind of, you know, like arena-based fighter. You're knocking people off, so it like kind of floaty. So because of that stuff, like a little bit of lag doesn't, the level we're gonna play at, the level most people are gonna play online, it doesn't really matter that much. And it kind of masks that bad Nintendo infrastructure. Does that make sense? So yeah, this game shines despite it being on the Switch and despite Nintendo's infrastructure of online being so bad. I'm more surprised than you are, chat. I'm more surprised than you are. So good. So if we look at hardcore, get into the technical, let's see what the Smash fans are saying. Obviously, the Smash fans are always gonna talk about Melee and how does it compare to Melee. The hardcore obviously saying it's not as good as Melee because this game has way more input lag than Melee. It's like 120 milliseconds where Melee was like 68 or whatever. So the hardcore like are saying, yeah, it's a bit slower. You know, we don't really like it compared to Melee. But even the hardcore Smash fans and the hardcore tournament players are saying this is probably the second best Smash game ever made. You know, if it wasn't for the input lag and all that stuff, they would probably say this is the best Smash game. And if it wasn't for Nintendo's online infrastructure, because you can't talk about Melee with online infrastructure, because there was no online infrastructure back then, or not good online infrastructure, so it wasn't held to those same standards, right? If this was launched in a world without online fighting games and everything, then we wouldn't judge it based on that. But because it's come out in 2019 or end of 2018, judged in 2019, we have to talk about Nintendo's infrastructure, and that kind of holds this game back. You know, it could get better, it could get worse, for all we know. You have to have an online subscription to play this with Nintendo's infrastructure. The Switch doesn't come built in with an Ethernet port, so you have to buy an Ethernet port. Everybody's done tests to say if you want to hardwire your controller into your Switch, the USB ports on the Switch have such a high polling rate, it's actually faster to play over a Wi-Fi controller than it is a hardwired controller. So if you want to get hardcore technical, you know, this is things that hold this game back. But it has so much content in there. It's the most amount of fighters that any Smash game's ever seen. It builds on everything else the other Smash games have done. It looks so nice. It's a HD Smash game. I'm so impressed. So impressed. Like I was saying earlier on, I bought my Switch because of Mario Maker. I almost didn't pick this up. I would say, even if you you don't even have to be a hardcore fighting game fan to play Smash, because I'm enjoying it so much. You know, I'm a hardcore fighting game fan, and I kind of used to look down on Smash. But if you've got a Switch, pick up Smash, buy an online subscription, make sure you got a decent Wi-Fi connection. If you haven't, you're gonna have to like get an Ethernet wire, hardwire this, because the Switch this is not really this game's fault. This is the Switch's fault and Nintendo's online infrastructure. But so good. So good. This is like, again, is fresh, new in my mind. I've only started playing this a couple of weeks ago. It could go down, it could go up, but Smash. The second greatest Smash game of all time. This is my first hardcore foray into Smash games. Whew. Smash Bros Ultima. Who would have thunk it? Pro streamer out here playing Smash. We are going to be playing a lot of this over the next couple of months. This is the game we're going to be, you know, hardcore beating out. This is what pushed Mortal Kombat out of our top 3. If I wouldn't have picked up a Switch, it also pushed Plagues, because Plague's Tale and Mortal Kombat would have been in my top 3. Okay, number 2. That was a big discussion over Smash. I had to talk about it. We're talking about some stuff in Smash. Okay, number 2, chat. Again, this is why I held off my top 10 games of the year list off for so long, because I knew I was getting a Switch. Again, is another Switch game, spoilers. I knew I was getting a Switch, and I was like, okay, there's 1 or 2 games that could be the best game of the year. All right, I just have potential. This is why, if I be honest with you, we was memeing earlier on about, you know, I did it in the beginning of 2020. That's when you should do it, when all the good games are, when the year is over. But if I'm being honest with you, it's because I had to play this game, because I was like, oh, this could push off my number 1. Number 2, best games of 2019. Mario Maker 2. Mario Maker 2. Mario Maker 1 came out on a platform that was dead. It came out on the Wii U. It like sold what, 10 or 14 million total. So like a lot of people didn't get to appreciate Mario Maker 1. I appreciated Mario Maker 1 from other content creators. I was like, oh, I want this game so badly. I would love it. Like, I think Mario World is the greatest game ever made. So I love 2D Mario. But I wasn't going to invest in a Wii U just for one game. People bought a Wii U just for Mario Maker. Now the Switch is selling like hot cakes. It had its greatest year ever. Best year ever. So was I like, this is the game I picked up the platform for. Mario Maker 2. So why again, we got to get real nitpicky with this. So, you know, if I was waiting for it, I love Mario World. Like, why wasn't this, like, I was waiting. This is the reason I waited, because it could have been my game of the year. But why have I held off on this? Again, I haven't been playing it long enough to really break it down like crazy to say, is it good enough to be my game of the year, or is it going to even drop further after I play it online? But I've got experience with Little Big Planet. Little Big Planet was the first game that introduced this whole play, create, share thing, right? You can play a level, you can create a level, you share your level. Obviously Nintendo then used that formula and made it with Mario Maker, and Mario is such a it's a bigger IP, and they've made it way more simpler than what Little Big Planet was. Gameplay's tighter because there was a lot of input lag and rolliness and slidiness. So they simplified it a bit, and it's got a better IP. So why isn't this my number one? So it still has the problems that Little Big Planet had. It's kind of hard to find the level or the type of levels that you want to play. It's always a little bit too hard or it's a little bit too easy. You can never find exactly what's right. So people are using forums, people are using Twitter to share their level codes. So it still has those same problems of what Little Big Planet really couldn't figure out, of how do you get to the levels that you want to play and only see those type of levels. So that's my first hindrance of it for me. And even my second point is, even though that they've made it simpler to make levels, did it in that Nintendo style, it's not as crazy as Little Big Planet's level editor, right? It's still crazy overwhelming. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've been watching the tutorials in the game, and every time I open the level creator, I haven't made a single level yet. I just start basically, and I just get overwhelmed. I'm like, oh my days. Even though they've made it simpler and made it easy, way user friendly and everything, it's still so overwhelming. I just really need to get over that hurdle. But if you've got any kind of creative imagination or you like to make levels, this is totally for you. So the other kind of negatives are, they've kind of removed certain modes from that was in Mario Maker 1, the best to play 100 levels. So it was a kind of end game to it, right? You play 100 levels, can you do it? How many lives can you do it in? What's the time you can do it in? They've just got an infinite mode. Recently though, they have brought out a massive new DLC that brings Link in it from Legend of Zelda 2, so it totally changes up the gameplay. So hopefully going on further on down, we see crazy amounts of updates, because that update, when I saw that trailer for that update for Link, I was like, boom, buying the Switch. I'm not gonna even wait for Switch Pro. If Switch Pro is even a thing, I don't know. I'm just jumped on it, spent $550, all the extra games we got, peripherals, everything, blah blah blah. This is the game. But again, it still had those problems of Little Big Planet, so that's why it kind of took off the shine for me. I was like, oh no, it's we still haven't quite figured that out yet. And then the last final kind of negative that it gets for me is it's still a game that is on Nintendo's infrastructure. They added multiplayer to this. This came out what, 5-6 months ago now, 4 months ago. The online is still terrible in this game. They've added you can play with your friends and everything, and it lags absolute crazy. This is not even a complex, big looking game. This is it's 400 meg download in total. It's 2D Mario. I don't understand why why it's so hard for them, because they're not bringing back sending loads of graphic data across the internet, right? It's actually kind of shocking how bad this performs online. This might be it's shocking. That's the only word you could say for it. It's it's shockingly bad. Go watch some videos of how bad this plays online. It's almost unplayable. It goes to 5 frames a second at its worst, and it's been months and months and they haven't updated it yet. So it's gotta, with all those negatives, that's why it hasn't made my number one game of the year. Again, at this level, we are getting super nitpicky, right? I'm not saying because of this is a bad game, you shouldn't pick it up. In fact, I think if you've got a Switch, this should be on your list 100%. This if you got a Switch, this and Smash Bros are the 2 games you should get, 100% should get. But I hope that they improve those things, especially with the online stuff. I still don't know how they improved that whole find your levels, play, create, share. This is what other publishers, other developers are still trying to figure out. You just use Nintendo friend code stuff and all that. It's just, this is a game that is a good game that could have been better on a different platform, but it's stuck on Nintendo's infrastructure. Same thing with Smash, but this is the exclusive first party game. If you want to play this game, this is the only place you will find it, is on a Nintendo console. Even with saying all that, though, even with saying all that, the fact that I can infinitely play Mario levels, user created Mario levels, it never gets boring. I can continuously, I have to put a bit of effort into find levels. Um, I can still find them. And like I said, Super Mario World is in my opinion, the greatest game of all time. So this is like Super Mario World, but you know, users make their level. So I would never get bored. This, if you're gonna play one game and you can have it forever, you know, this, you'll get the most content out of this game. If you like 2D platformers, you know, it comes with a big if. You might like, we have got people in our community say, I'm not a fan of Mario, I'm not a fan of 2D platformers. But if you do, like, why aren't you playing this? Why aren't you picking it up? There you have it. Super Mario Maker 2. Again, at this level, I'm just like, I'm getting real nitpicky, right? These are the problems. This is the reason it isn't my game of the year. But it's still the second best game that came out in the year. With how it's developing, they could fix these things. And it could turn out to be one of my favorite games of the decade. They could not fix them and it could get worse, right? It could get worse and it could drop. But where it stands for me now, number 2. Second best game of the year. If you got a Switch, I 100% think you should pick this up. There you have it, Super Mario Maker 2. Okay, all right, spoilers, the last game is not going to be a Switch game shop. It's not going to be Pokemon or anything like that. You know, Pokemon's got its own problems. Like, it's shiny new paint and everything, and I enjoyed it, but its core is still the same old game. But yeah, again, that's why we held off on our game of the year list for so long, right? Because I picked up a Switch and there was potential for a couple of games on the Switch to be in my top 10 game of the year list. I was like, when I picked up a Switch, I was like, oh, Mario Maker is going to be my number 1 game of the year, chat. It's crazy. I don't understand how it's not going to be my game of the year, right? In your mind, I've got to justify it, right? I've spent like $550 on the console and all his accessories in every single game. I'm going to mentally justify in my head, okay, I've got to make it worth it. Even if it's not that great, I'm going to say it's that great to like justify spending that much money on the console, right? But I just, you know, it made my top 3. It just didn't quite make the game of the year. You know, hopefully they can improve it. But that's why we held off for so long, because 3 Nintendo games that are exclusive on the Nintendo platform made my top 10. That's actually insane. And I don't know if it's because the Switch is fresh in my mind. We've just done Switch content. It's all, you know, fresh and new to me. So I'm really enjoying it. Play it 4 more months and I could get bored of it. Who knows? But again, Devil May Cry was on my list. Sekiro was on my list. That games that came out at the beginning of the year, and Mortal Kombat that like really stood the test of time, stood the test of the year, right? Not test of time, but like stood the test of the year. So that gives you even more props to those games that they came out so early in the year and they still like got through. Okay, game of the year, chat. Game of the year is funny. I like, if you ever seen the movie Draft Day, there's a bit in the scene in the end of Draft Day where he writes down a name, right? And he goes, no matter what, I'm picking this. It kind of comes down to this with me with this game. I picked this game soon as it come out, and soon as I played it, I was like, holy shit, this is game of the year. Boom. Yeah, and it's been on that list on my little text document that I've had there for a year. And I was like, what is gonna knock this game off the list? I can't believe it. This is another shocker for me. Chat, I am the biggest chicken shit on God's green earth. I hate horror. I do not watch horror movies. Don't tell me no horror stories. I don't like jump scares. Get the horror out of here. Why would you even play games like that? I don't understand you people that watch like gruesome horror movies, jump scares. You're all insane. All of you. Every single one of you. Saying that, my game of the year is Resident Evil 2 Remake. Even with saying all that, chat, I don't know. I've got the original Resident Evil 2 on my PlayStation 1 and Resident Evil 3. I think 3 is scary, by the way. 3's coming out this year, chat. They've announced it. Okay. You know how I said that I don't like horror games, I don't like jump scare games, all that jazz? That's not me saying that this game ain't really horror and this game ain't really jump scare. It still is all that. I think this game is more thriller. Like, I don't know if I played this on stream with chat, so I wasn't really as scared, right? Like, you know, we was memeing with chat and playing it along and everything. So it helped me get through the game. We almost completed it in one sitting. We had like 2 scenes to go. We almost did it in one sitting. That's how much fun I was having with this game. Chat, like, I know it's kind of a cheat because this kind of shows you what the game industry was like this year, right? Like, we are on the cusp of new consoles coming out, so we didn't really get crazy new experiences and big games. And well, not big game, it's hard to put into words, but like something fresh, new, you know. Are all the big publishers saving that for next generation? Like, next generation is like 9 months away. But the fact that I picked Resident Evil, I'm pro streamer, chat. I'm pro.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
Ruined top 10. Hold on, I'm gonna get you all in a second, chat. Hold on, we're gonna finish this. I'm gonna take. Chat's going nuts. Like, I can't believe you played Resident Evil 2. Corrupted. All right, hold on. I'm gonna get your comments in a second. Where was I? Lost track of my thought. Hold on. Yeah, but it kind of goes to show you, right? If I'm picking a game that is a remake of a game in 2019, it kind of shows you what the game industry as a whole was like in 2019, right? Really, if you think about it, right? The game of the year, my game of the year, it's not even my game of the year. This was the best game of the year. Like, I don't care what anybody says, this was the best game of the year. Or everybody's going to secure and everything. No, you're wrong. This was the game of the year, right? And but it shows you though, like, where development was. Are they saving all their big games for next gen that is coming out soon? I don't know. Also comes back to that comment, right? Games or movies or whatever, when you're doing games of the year list, right? Games that come out at the beginning of the year and can still, like, the game developers, publishers got to have balls of steel, right? To bring out a game that early in the year and still be in people's minds is really hard to do. Like I said, the reason I put Mario Maker in the Smash, well, not the only reason, but one of the reasons they're in my top 3, because they're fresh in my mind. I was just playing them, right? But we're talking about a game. This came out in what, January, February, March? It's like it was like one of the first big games that came out last year. And it's so good. It's so good, chat. Even if you don't like horror, like I said, if you don't like jump scare, you don't like horror, you don't like this type of game, that's me. You're talking to me, chat. Still go out and play this game. If you like the original, if you got any reverence for any of the Resident Evil stuff, even if you haven't, like, the way they've changed up the controls, it plays smoothly now. I can remember when Resident Evil first came out, they was like, this what their mentality was when Resident Evil 3 or 4 came out. It was like, no, we need tank controls, because tank controls makes the game more scary. It, like, you know, you struggle with the controls and it makes the game more scary for you and everything. This totally disproves that, right? This game plays smooth. It plays great. It doesn't play like tank controls. It plays like a modern video game. And it still retains all that other stuff that made the Resident Evil game scary, jump scary, thriller, whatever you want to call them. The fact that they've announced that they're remaking Resident Evil 3 as well in this style is going to be great. But I think Resident Evil 3 is a way scarier game than Resident Evil 2. Because Resident Evil 3 is way more jump scary. From what I remember of it back in the day. So I'm really going to enjoy it. So props out. Like, claps to Capcom. We play a lot of fighting games on this stream. Capcom gets a lot of shit for what they're doing with Street Fighter at the moment, what they're doing with fighting games at the moment. But you can kind of understand, right? If you're Capcom right now, you're like, yo, like, chat, they got 2 games. Like, Devil May Cry 3 was almost in my top 3. At one point, it was in my top 3 list, and then I took it out. I was like, it can't be. It was like way too much backtracky and samey stuff. They got 2 games that are in a lot of people's top 10 games of the year, that came out in the beginning of the year, that still are strong enough to be in people's minds at the end of the year. If you're Capcom right now, why are you going to be making fighting games where everybody's shitting on your fighting games, but your other content, your other games that you're doing are like selling like gangbusters and getting like rated highly like crazy? Let's not even forget to talk about Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter was like on everybody's game of the year list last year, and they did the DLC this year that everybody's going nuts over as well. It seems like every single division of Capcom, other than their fighting game division, is doing crazy. Why would they focus on Street Fighter, right? I mean, that's not me saying don't focus on Street Fighter. I want better Street Fighter games. I want Capcom versus SNK free, please. But there you have it, chat. Resident Evil 2. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? Pro streamer put Smash Bros and Resident Evil horror game on his top 10 games of the year list. What a weird top 10 for me. It's crazy. This first time I put proper effort into it. It's an interesting top 10 for me for sure. For anybody who came late, so let's bring it back down again. At number 10, it was Metro Exodus. At number 9, it was Total War 3 Kingdoms. At number 8, it was Devil May Cry 5. At number 7, it was Tetris 99. At number 6, it was Sekiro. At number 5, Mortal Kombat 11. At number 4, A Plague's Tale. Innocence, I think Innocence is what it ends with. At number 3, Smash Bros Ultimate. At number 2, Mario Maker 2. At number 1, Resident Evil 2 Remake. It but interesting year for games we had. Interesting year, you know. I think a lot of people are saving, like, this is the quick comment about like where the game industry is at the moment and where games are at the moment. I think a lot of new experiences and a lot of new type of games and new IPs or whatever, I think all that is getting saved for next gen that is going to start this year. If you've been playing games, if you're old enough and been following the gaming industry long enough, you understand, right? That always happens when we got a new console generation on the horizon. This what happens every single time. Like everybody saves their big hitters, you know, just like, what we're gonna do, we want to save it for next gen. So that's kind of what happened with this year. A lot of these games are sequels, a lot of these games are remakes, are the best of the best of that game. If you look at the list, right, you know, like if we look at that list one more time, Resident Evil 2 is a remake. Mario Maker 2 is a sequel to Mario Maker 1. Smash Ultimate is the best of Smash, right? A Plague's Tale, actually, Plague's Tale was genuinely different, new experience. That's why it could have been on my game. It could have been my game of the year. I know games like that have done it before, but not like it's like Ico mixed with horror. Lead your brother down a path and save him. It was a genuinely kind of new like experience, right? Maybe it should have been my game of the year. Now that I'm thinking, wait, hold on, maybe I should put Plague's Tale as my game of the year. But you know what I'm saying? That was some MK11. That was just Mortal Kombat. It was 11. It was the 11th iteration, right? Sekiro is basically like Souls games and Bloodborne. You know, they've just refined the formula. Nothing new there. Tetris 99 was Tetris adding the multiplayer. You know, Devil May Cry is the 5th one of Devil May Cry games. They just get better at doing it. Total War 3 Kingdoms. Even though it was my first Total War experience, I loved it. I enjoyed it. Like, is the Total War 3 Kingdoms? You had like what, 8, 9 Total War games now? Metro Exodus. It was the third Metro game. It was the third Metro game, chat. If you look at my top 10 list as a whole, it kind of shows you, right, where the video game industry is at the moment, where games are at the moment. You know, we're at the end of console life cycle. Everybody's probably holding their new games for next gen. Even on the PC, we've got new graphic cards coming out now. Even PC gamers would hate to admit this. Console games really leads the industry because they sell like, you know, 100 million consoles. That's where console games go. It's where PC games go. So even PC publishers, developers, like, wait to what is going to be the next big console? How is it going to evolve? And then all tech evolves on from that, right? Do you think Red Dead Redemption was first developed for PC graphic cards, or do you think it was developed for consoles and then they ported that off, you know? So there you have it, chat. All right, we're going to take some questions from the chat. I'm going to quickly read some of your comments. And then we'll continue. I know, shocking, right? This will probably go up on YouTube. If you're watching this over on YouTube, don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn them notifications on. Tell me what your top 10 are. If you disagree with me, tell me you disagree with me. I'm right though, okay? You can't disagree with me when I'm right. When I say what is right, I'm right. Again, I should say this is my opinion. I'm not gonna even say this is my opinion. I'm right. Okay, geez, this is how it is. Give me 3-4 months, I might change my list. It's pretty hard to do, chat. It's pretty hard to do. Don't forget, there was 1 or 2 big hitters that we didn't play. Like, you know, Death Stranding could have been in that list. The new Star Wars game could have been in that list. Control could have been in that list. Again, I'm going to reiterate, small channel, smaller budget. I can only play a certain amount of games. But those 3 had potential to be in there. I didn't play them. It was an interesting year for games, though. It was an interesting year.